America's #1 beer for over 20 years. Then it made a single partnership announcement. 6 months later, it lost $27 billion in market value and fell to #2. This is Bud Light's story. April 1st, 2023. What started as an April Fool's Day would become the most expensive marketing decision in beer industry history. Bud Light sent a personalized can to transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney celebrating her 365 Days of Girlhood series. It seemed like a small gesture. Within 48 hours, it had triggered the largest consumer boycott in modern American history. Anheuser-Busch InBev, the parent company, watched helplessly as their crown jewel brand collapsed in real time. Bars stopped ordering. Distributors reported unprecedented drops. Social media exploded with videos of customers dumping cases of Bud Light. Country music stars publicly denounced the brand. Conservative influencers organized nationwide boycotts. 6 months later, the numbers told a devastating story. Bud Light had lost its 20-year reign as America's top-selling beer. Modelo Especial took the crown. Market share plummeted from 10.6% to 7.3%. Sales dropped 30% year over year. The company's stock price crashed, wiping out $27 billion in market value. To understand how it all went wrong, we need to go back to when Bud Light ruled America. Budweiser was born in 1876 when German immigrant Adolphus Busch created what he called the King of Beers. But it was Bud Light, launched in 1982, that would truly conquer America. The light beer revolution was just beginning, and Bud Light positioned itself perfectly. The 1990s belonged to Bud Light. While competitors fought over premium segments, Bud Light captured the massive mainstream market. College students, blue-collar workers, sports fans. Bud Light became synonymous with American beer culture. Super Bowl commercials featuring the Budweiser Clydesdales and What's Up campaigns became cultural phenomena. By 2001, Bud Light had dethroned Budweiser to become America's best-selling beer. It wasn't just a product. It was a lifestyle. Tailgating at NFL games, backyard barbecues, fishing trips with friends, Bud Light was there. The brand represented unpretentious, approachable American masculinity. The numbers were staggering. At its peak, Bud Light controlled 18% of the entire American beer market. Annual sales exceeded $27 billion. In many states, 1 out of every 4 beers sold was Bud Light. The brand generated more revenue than many Fortune 500 companies. Sports sponsorships cemented Bud Light's dominance. Official beer of the NFL, exclusive partner of 28 NFL teams, title sponsor of the Bud Light Super Bowl halftime show, March Madness, UFC fights. Bud Light wasn't just advertising during these events, it was part of the experience. But the real breaking point hadn't come yet. The 2010s brought new challenges. Craft beer exploded in popularity. Millennials and Gen Z consumers demanded authenticity, unique flavors, local breweries. Bud Light's market share began to erode. From 18% in 2008, it dropped to 13% by 2018, then 10.6% by 2022. Younger consumers saw Bud Light as their parents' beer. Boring, generic, uncool. Meanwhile, brands like White Claw and other hard seltzers captured the growing low-calorie alcohol market. IPAs and craft beers offered premium experiences. Bud Light was stuck in the middle, too expensive to compete with value brands, too generic to compete with premium options. Anheuser-Busch executives knew they had a problem. The brand's customer base was aging. Average Bud Light drinker age had crept up from 35 in 2010 to 42 in 2020. Without younger consumers, long-term decline was inevitable. They needed to modernize the brand without alienating core customers. The challenge seemed impossible. Bud Light's core audience was predominantly male, working class, and politically conservative. These customers valued tradition, authenticity, and American identity. Any attempt to chase younger, more progressive consumers risked backlash from the base that still generated billions in revenue. 2022 brought new leadership. Alissa Heinerscheid was promoted to Vice President of Marketing for Bud Light, becoming the first woman to hold the position. Harvard MBA, decade of marketing experience, she was brought in specifically to revitalize the brand for younger audiences. Heinerscheid diagnosed the problem bluntly. Bud Light Light suffered from a fraudy and out-of-touch brand image. In interviews, she criticized the brand's previous marketing as appealing to a very narrow audience. The solution, she believed, was inclusivity, expanding beyond traditional masculine beer marketing to embrace diversity. This was exactly the point where return became impossible. March 2023, Bud Light quietly began working with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Mulvaney had gained massive TikTok following, documenting her gender transition journey in a series called 365 Days of Girlhood. Young, authentic, progressive, exactly the audience Bud Light wanted to reach. The partnership seemed modest. No major advertising campaign, no Super Bowl commercial. Just a personalized Bud Light can sent to Mulvaney to commemorate her first year of transition. Mulvaney posted a brief video on Instagram showing the custom can. It had her face on it and celebrated day 365 of her girlhood journey. What Anheuser-Busch executives didn't anticipate was how this would be perceived by their existing customer base. To them, this wasn't just product placement. It was a statement about gender, identity, and values. In an increasingly polarized America, Bud Light had inadvertently chosen a side. April 1st, 2023, the video went live. Within hours, the backlash began. Conservative social media users accused Bud Light of promoting woke ideology. The timing, April Fool's Day, made many initially think it was a joke. When they realized it wasn't, anger intensified. Kid Rock posted a video of himself shooting cases of Bud Light with an assault rifle. Country music star Travis Tritt announced he would stop serving Bud Light at his tour venues. Anheuser-Busch stock price began dropping immediately. Social media filled with videos of customers boycotting, dumping, and destroying Bud Light products. The speed of the backlash shocked everyone. By April 2nd, hashtag boycott Bud Light was trending nationwide. Conservative influencers with millions of followers amplified the outrage. Fox News ran segments criticizing the partnership, but the real destruction was happening where it mattered most: retail sales. April became a nightmare month for Anheuser-Busch. Sales data showed week-over-week declines of 15%, then 20%, then 25%. Competitors like Coors Light and Miller Lite gained market share as former Bud Light customers switched brands. The boycott showed no signs of slowing. Anheuser-Busch's response made everything worse. CEO Brendan Whitworth released a corporate statement that satisfied no one. He avoided mentioning Mulvaney by name, spoke vaguely about bringing people together, and failed to either defend or disavow the partnership. Both sides saw it as weakness. Conservative customers interpreted the wishy-washy response as corporate cowardice. Progressive customers felt the company had abandoned Mulvaney under pressure. The middle ground Anheuser-Busch tried to occupy didn't exist. In America's culture wars, neutrality was impossible. May brought even worse news. Nielsen data confirmed Bud Light sales had crashed 28% year over year. Modelo Especial had overtaken Bud Light as America's top-selling beer for the first time in over 2 decades. A Mexican beer had dethroned the American icon. The financial carnage was unprecedented. Anheuser-Busch stock price fell from $66 to $52 per share, erasing $27 billion in market value. Distributors reported their worst quarter in decades. Some rural distributors saw Bud Light sales drop 50% or more. By summer 2023, the reality was undeniable. Bud Light had permanently lost a significant portion of its customer base. These weren't temporary protesters who would return after the controversy faded. They had switched to competitor brands and weren't coming back. And the cost of this decision emerged months later. September 2023 earnings reports revealed the full scope of the disaster. North American beer sales dropped 13.7% for the quarter. Bud Light specifically fell 30% year over year. The brand that had generated over $7 billion annually was hemorrhaging money. Traditional advertising couldn't fix what had been broken. The company tried returning to sports sponsorships, patriotic messaging, and working-class imagery. None of it worked. The brand's association with the Mulvaney partnership had become permanent in many consumers' minds. December 2023 brought the final confirmation. Year-end sales data showed Bud Light had lost its position as America's top beer. Modelo Especial claimed the crown and showed no signs of giving it back. 22 years of market dominance had ended with a single TikTok video. 22 years of market leadership vanished in 6 months because a beer company forgot who was actually buying their beer.